Satnam Vaheguru. Satnam Vaheguru.
It has become increasingly clear for me the great power of this teaching. It had to emerge from within the experience. It had to be shown in a very inner way, a very intuitive way, because it's become much more bright and much more clear for me. And the greatness and just the total wonderfulness of this teaching. It could not have been, I could not have estimated the greatness of it. Because I see here that inside the very veins and the pulse and the cells of my being, if we could say like this, I see that in every way it is the most natural. It is the most godly, the most heavenly, the most high pointing. Because I don't feel any real concern for the things of this world in terms of, this is to be put right, that is to be fixed, these people are not right, and this government is doing all these things, and it's all condensed into the outer expression of consciousness and the vast potential of how this consciousness in its display as life is experienced uniquely at varying stage within the human person, which is a form of consciousness heavily endowed with its own limitations, because it is self-perceiving as though it is only flesh and blood and conditioning, which is its own phenomenal appearance and has no substantial reality. It is just play. So to take it seriously is already the fault, because whatever you believe it to be, it will change again. Enemies will become friends and friends will become enemies. The play of life and death is unceasingly unfolding, flowing like that. The thing you say today, you will disagree with tomorrow. The pressure is so immense while consciousness is in the state of personhood. And yet within this dynamic field, as consciousness awakens to its own true being, it brings that light into this world and not necessarily stabilize the world, but it introduces the world mind, to the purity, the stability, the beauty, the limitlessness, the imperishable-ness of the Supreme Being. And only then is the world enjoyed in the most pure way, what you may say. Not as an end in itself, but only as just as the pulse of existence is enjoyed. Even at my God, even the enjoyer is, I would say, phenomenal in some way. But in the highest sense of phenomenality. Because behind this enjoyer is just the total perfectness. It is just so astonishing. Why waste time to fight with what is unreal? Why waste time to conquer that which is perishable? The wise one will find will go to the heart of all things. And from the heart of all things, bring that silence, that peace, that joy, that love, that wisdom into the world. Not that you'll find that peace in the world without knowing it first in yourself. If you find it in the world, it will be a very unstable thing. It will not last long. What is the purpose, what is the gain in struggling so much to attain something which is totally unstable? And that even the one who would attain it himself is unstable. He himself is composed of wavering, swerving, changefulness. He cannot agree with himself. So because of this, I see it is the most economic, the most powerful way. Like looking in the mirror and have a clear reflection of your face pleases the regular man. Looking into the mirror of God to see the truth of who you are. That is the greatest. That's the greatest, because in one glimpse you secure your position, and you cannot sleep no matter what happens. I don't know how many forms of consciousness will embrace this, will allow this, will find and rejoice in the total discovery of this, which never wears out. It just keeps getting more beautiful. You know, it's not a philosophy to last you for a few seasons and then you have to change, because it's not in the wheel of time and phenomenality, which is unceasingly changing and restless with its own desire for nextness. You know, it is at the heart of all things. It makes them beautiful. It makes even the changeful God. But the God in time, playing as time, not captured as time, but playing as time and playing as change. You know? This is why I don't focus on the behavior and the beliefs and the imagination and the memories of people, because it's unstable. All of it is unstable. Even what we think we know, the most reliable aspect of human endeavor, which we call science and knowledge, you know, is constantly being tested and challenged every time as new discoveries are made. And they will continue. You will never reach that ground of the unchanging. It will always be within the realm of the possibilities, the possible shades and shapes, and that consciousness as mind will keep on creating. It is endless until you end it with your own wisdom, with your own recognition, by the grace of God, of course. You being what? You being that dynamic aspect of phenomenality that is imbued with the feeling of sentience. You are imbued with the feeling of choice. But because you conceive of yourself as autonomy separate from the whole, you have no real autonomy. You yourself are a dreamed character inside the greater consciousness, which is really your own stable source, but you don't realize it. This is what I'm seeing also so vividly, beautifully, because it is the door through which the human expression of consciousness will realize its origin and be truly happy. And it's here. It's not a course of weeks or months. It will take that. It will take years even, if the mind still carries that saturation with personal identity. This beautiful simplicity will not seep in. That reflection in the mind will not happen until the mind becomes a bit more pure, or that the consciousness that watches the mind somehow comes to recognize that it is there before the shapes were created or take on manifestation. They come into play. Oh my God, and yet nobody wants this. They cannot want it because they believe in themselves as these phenomenal beings and feel deeply threatened by the invitation for self-discovery. Or they will be attracted to self-discovery because they feel pain. In their world, in their attachments, they feel pain. But it's like an addict that cannot give up its addiction because he suffers it, and yet he's deeply, fiercely involved and desiring of it. It's in his blood already, you see? And so they will come a little way, but when they feel the power in it, something inside them will want to run. The death inside them wants to run. The time inside them wants to run. The force inside them wants to run. And if they're not rooted in some deeper understanding that shows them, but you, how can you run? You are the infinite. If you run, you just strengthen your dream and fall asleep more deeply. Only God can make all these things happen. Therefore I say, they don't have to happen, because if God does not will it, so to speak, then there's some greater purpose for the play to perpetuate, you know. And I'm always going to be in agreement with God. I don't need to understand. My understanding is my love, my respect, my surrender is enough understanding for me. I see, after all, how else could it be? Why would God be impatient? For whom? It's a play. It's a powerful dream, this Maya. Because you cannot be smart enough to come out of it while retaining your sense of pride or individual autonomy, you know. You can't come out of it. And the more you become arrogant, the less chance you have. If man curses God, it becomes almost impossible. It's like a moth flying into liquid wax. You stand no chance. I don't know what I have. If I have what would we call love for people, it cannot be spoken without understanding what a person is. Nothing can be, nothing is separate or independent of the Supreme Being. It is only the Supreme Being. In manifestation or in its unmanifest perfectness. In its manifestation, it can play the sense of perfect and imperfect, but there's still perfection in him. Because his imperfectness is not an accident, it's the intention. It's not a consequence of supreme ignorance. It's a display of supreme brilliance, actually. I can't tell you how, because for a long time there was doubt inside me as a young man. I didn't understand these things. I didn't understand these things. I felt that there was a dark secret to be found.
Dark.
Yeah, like maybe the way that religion was introduced. That there was behind it, a punishing God, who looks upon the work of human beings and say, you have done very bad. You're going to be punished in hell and stuff like this. And this thought also came from the great self in some way to manifest as this thing, to see, because it puts intelligence inside the body as a kind of potential and has to go through layers of experience to exercise its powers of discernment, to wake up to the real truth. So it's almost like it posts to itself, it sends to itself all these experiences to see if it will be deflated by them, if it will fall into sorrow because of them, or it will be exercised and used to recover its power. It feels like this. It can be said like that, because this is why perhaps it is increasingly delightful to keep on finding how free and how pure God is, and not the God that I've been told that, like you do wrong, and it's not a God of right and wrong. It's the God of brilliance, of love, and just the most wise, the most beautiful. This is how it's revealed in me. And only because of this I can meet the world in love. Because the world in its belief as personhood is not lovable for me. In its belief as autonomy and in its arrogance and pride as, individuality and personality and personhood is not attractive, is not lovable for me. No. It's only when the God self is being revealed, a kind of sweetness comes into the human form. A sort of like a smell of the rain of possibility coming. And then I can say, yes, very good. He's at the door. How I come into this understanding when the body becomes weak. Only God can use this body. And He doesn't want that the world wakes up to this knowledge, but then how can the world know anything contrary to His will? So I have nothing to worry about. For a moment I was worrying that this knowledge has flowered inside, and there may not be time to share it with as many as possible. But really, I see that that's a human thought. I leave all things to the Supreme. It's funny because I'm not apart from, I don't even know if I can say I am a part of. Even a speck of water from the ocean is the ocean. But you separate it from the ocean, and it could just be spit. once it returns to the ocean, so to speak, it is the whole ocean. Where will you be able to find him? Yeah. These are my ponderings this morning.
Satnam Vaheguru. 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 Satnam